Hey guys, Poro here with another guide, this time for Lulu Jungle. I put this one in S tier back on my off meta tier list a while back and got quite a few confused comments about it, so I'm finally getting around to how an enchanter support can be a powerhouse in the jungle. To understand why Lulu could be effective in the jungle, we first have to think about what her identity as a champion is. Lulu is an enchanter and wins games through healing, shielding, and empowering allies. Enchanters are usually placed in the support role, which is the lowest economy role in the game, and as a result, enchanter items are significantly cheaper. What this means is that given resources, enchanters can actually power spike extremely hard extremely quickly. Many times, you'll hear people say things like, enchanters taking kills isn't actually bad because their mythic item power spike is insane. This idea of enchanters using gold well off of low prices has been put into practice multiple times in the past, such as with the Moonstaff combo at the start of Season 11, or the Echoes of Helia Rush on mages in this recent season. If we apply these ideas to the extreme, enchanters could easily obtain 4 or 5 powerful items at the same speed in which other carries may have 2 or 3, meaning we're much stronger until late game where the other champions catch up. In other words, enchanters spike hard and fast and will dictate much of mid game if given resources. In theory, an enchanter with the ability to keep pace in a resource-rich role like the jungle should be absolutely broken. Champions like Taric and Ivern are perfect examples of this, as they can power through the jungle, stay ahead of the curve on items, and then scale into oblivion. If a champion like Lulu can check the main boxes of jungle play, she'll be broken as well. With that intro out of the way, let's take a look at the first barrier of entry for jungle, the clear. Lulu's camp clear is actually much more solid than you would expect. Her passive deals a lot of early damage, her Q is AoE and provides a huge 80% slow that makes for easy kiting, her W gives movement speed and attack speed for even more kiting and faster clear, and her E can either be used as a shield to block damage from camps or damage to speed the clear up. And when I say block damage, I mean block damage. If you use all of your E's for sustain, you will take quite literally 0 damage from camps at the end of your clear. As you progress later and later into the game, you'll end up using more and more E's for damage instead of shielding as well, ensuring that your clear stays at a fast speed. If you're good enough at kiting, you can even opt to use damage E's as early as your first clear to ensure you're at scuttle on time. With no leash and most instances of E being used as a shield, your clear sits at a decent 340, 10 seconds after scuttle spawns. Even with this, first scuttle is guaranteed either by skipping one camp, or correctly avoiding which scuttle the enemy jungler chose to go for. With a leash and some damage E's, first scuttle on full clear is easily doable. To execute this clear, I like to start E the same way I do with Orianna. In case of invade or mean teammates, this is the ability you want for no leash. Even with a leash, the DPS is almost equal to what you would get with a Q start. I like to start red, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, take Q next for the slow and AoE, and W third for the attack speed. At level 4, I usually level E, as leveling W is the slowest for clearing, and leveling Q leaves a lot of utility issues during mid-game. E is a good mix of ensuring you have utility while also having camp damage. The slow on Q does not increase with rank, so you're not missing out on potential gank tools by leaving Q on 1 point either. In fact, I usually save Q max till dead last, since the polymorph duration increase on rank is very strong as well. This is also where I'll mention that God forbid should you go on hit Lulu jungle, you max W first for the attack speed steroid. So what happens if you're clearing and you get invaded? In general, there are a few types of invades that can occur. If the enemy jungler invades early on the side that you're not on, it is a feels bad moment, but it's not the end of the world since you're an enchanter who can cut a few losses on gold. If the enemy jungler invades on the side you are on, it's actually still okay. If you need to run, Lulu is great at running since she has that super annoying slow, a speed up for herself, and a shield. Don't underestimate yourself though, as Lulu is pretty good at dueling early due to her passive damage and polymorph. She's always much tankier than people expect, so don't run just because the enemy jungler shows their face. If you lose the 1v1 but your laners have priority to move first, you can still stick around since the shield, slow, and poly make for a lot of stalling potential. Junglers get over-eager to invade since you're playing as support, and can oftentimes forget to look at their lane states first. As for invading yourself, a lot of the same perks still apply, such as a decent clear speed and lots of sustain, so you shouldn't run into many problems there. Next, we'll go over ganks, and Lulu is pretty good at those. With her long-range Q, setting up the gank for your laner is pretty easy, and once that Q hits for the 2-second 80% slow, you're guaranteed to be in range to poly as well if they don't flash or dash out. Despite the lack of hard lockdown, you'll be surprised at how effective Lulu's ganks can be. She's also amazing at dives, since her point-and-click poly can start the dive off easily with no counterplay, and she's got the shield plus ult needed to make sure that she can be the one safely tanking the tower. Another hidden added bonus is that since you're playing Lulu, a lot of players have their guard down in lane and are not expecting the Lulu gank to even come, much less work out. A laner will frantically try to stop the wave from shoving under their turret when against something like an Elise or a Rek'Sai, but Lulu not so much, a mistake they will soon regret making. Now for the only sketchy part, which is objective takes. Unlike with camps, Lulu doesn't have the raw sustain to outlast dragon damage alone, and you won't be seeing any level 5 Lulu solo the Chemtech Drake. What you can see, however, is Lulu easily soloing the Rift Herald, which is the objective of choice for this pick. Herald damage can be mainly dodged, and the attacks that can't will simply be shielded. I recommend trading heralds for dragons if possible. Now even though Lulu can't solo dragons, that doesn't mean she's bad at securing them. Lulu gets access to levels much faster in the jungle than she does in solo lanes, and a Lulu with ult can turn the tides of any early dragon fight. If your team can set up for a standard teamfight over first and second dragon, Lulu can provide a huge amount of power there. Just remember though, don't go for dragons if your team isn't there to help you out, unless you're playing on hit, then you can do whatever you want. So with all of this information, how should you play the game? Well, Lulu can do a bit of anything you want her to. She's got a solid clear if you're down to power farm for late game scaling, and she's got solid ganks if you prefer to play for your team early. My personal preference is to abuse the early item spike potential, and I'll power farm the first 15 minutes away while trying to secure Rift Herald to end up with 2 items much faster than anyone else. Once I have my item spikes, the pace of the game is basically completely under my control until the carries catch up. You're still the same old pesky Lulu as always, only this time you're equally as fed as everyone else instead of a 1 item punching bag. That's the main reason why I'm happy with placing Lulu as a high S. Not only is she an enchanter in the jungle, which is a broken concept, but she has so many good answers to traditional jungle counterplay that stop her from being punished. I'd go as far as to say that you could probably just blind pick this whenever, since enemies will just assume it's in a different role anyway. So now we can go over runes and items. I'll start with my rune page, and there's a few options here. The standard safe option is a summon area page with runes like Nimbus Cloak, Transcendence, either Gathering Storm or Water Walking depending on your game plan, and secondaries being Cosmic Insight and whatever else you want. I usually take Magical Footwear here since the Biscuit Sustain is completely unnecessary. Another option I like to take is Unsealed Spellbook since I think that Keystone is flat out turbo busted on most champions. The page is also pretty similar with Sorcery secondaries. If you care about nothing but teamfights, an option like Guardian might be more up your alley, although you'll need runes like Bone Plating to make up for the lack of damage runes when being invaded or dueling early. If you absolutely must insist on going on hit, which by the way is not very good at all, you'll take a Lethal Tempo page, although playing around with Hail of Blades pages might also be fun. For my build, there's 2 variants I like to pick from. The first build uses Shurelya's and then stacks the Harmony items like Redemption and Mikhail's to abuse the mana regeneration stat available to supports. The other build is a bit of a higher damage option with Echoes of Helia and Imperial Mandate. Both of these builds are good, and you'll even find yourself blending the 2 together in a lot of situations. For the dreaded on-hit build, you'll just look for items that pair well with Rageblade, and I refuse to elaborate further because it's really just not good, and you could go a myriad of other on-hit junglers instead that are much better. The thing that stands out with Lulu is her status as an enchanter, and her on-hit build is probably closer to like B tier on my off-meta jungle tier list. I will be very sad if I see Rageblade Lulu anywhere other than maybe top lane. Overall, I like Lulu jungle a lot. You have a safe and strong clear, lots of tools against invades, really strong fights at all stages, and plenty of rune and item choices to counter or facilitate a lot of different comps. If you can get through the obstacle known as champion select, it should be smooth sailing for this one. Hopefully this video helps you guys understand a bit more why I have Lulu in S tier, and I'll see you guys with the next guide soon. That's all I've got for this one. I stream on Twitch and Kick sometimes, and I also have a Discord server, links to both will be in the description. I also have a Ko-fi page, and any tips are highly appreciated. Thanks for watching and supporting my content. Bye!